Good evening, class. You're welcome back to transportation and the sharing economy. Today, my name is Professor Richard Watson. Today, we will delve into the national transport policy and then look at the implications to the sharing economy. So, to start off, I'll be using a kind of an interaction or a discussion of a podcast based on the material I've shared with you on the platform. So, in one part, I wrote a short report on the implications of the national transport policy on the trends in the ride sharing economy. So we'll listen to a discussion that I did on it, and then before that I would start with the national transport policy, which is being shown in front of you. The revised version I think was passed in 2020 through a lot of consultation from different types of stakeholders. A thorough job was done by government, and the document is structured in a way that the first part looks at the goals and objectives of the transport sector. One of the things that's very good about the goals and objectives of the transport sector is that it tries to situate what transport means to Ghana, and then it looks at what are the principles of developing the policy, who it will serve, and what roles are being played. What are the principles for financing and regulating and ensuring performance within the sector in relation with the policy? Then it goes on to talk about the different modes of transport in Ghana's aviation, maritime, and the challenges with the current, like kind of a current baseline as of 2015 there that it did that, and railway and roads, and classification system of Ghana's road network. And it's quite a very voluminous document. I have a whole discussion that breaks this document into meaningful chunks for you to understand. I'll give it to you later. But today I want to look at the implication of this to the national to the trends in sharing economy. Okay, so I'll share that one with you online later. Then the transport policy is there are about 10 goals, and it covers all the 10 goals, and for each of each of the policy objectives or goals, there are things that government wants to achieve. Um, if I list them, first of all, this team is transport for all. Ghana as a transport hub, sustainable transport, improve public and private investment transport. Some of them are related, so sometimes some people even put them together. But in the document itself, is 10 of them. Integrated and harmonized transport planning, legal mandate, and then implementation of transport policy and analysis, enforcement of rules, regulations, and standards, research and develop human resource capacity, and application of new technologies. That's where we come in, but we do much more. So if you look at the details, create an accessible and affordable, reliable, safe, and secure transport system for all users. Establish Ghana as a transport hub within West Africa. Provide transport infrastructure and services without compromising integrity of society, environment, health, and climate. Increase private sector investment in the private and public. Improve how we utilize public financing of the transport sector. Create an integrated harmonized transport planning framework. Develop and adopt a legal mandate and institutional framework for implementation of transport sector policies. Enforce standards. If you have the policy, do enforce the standards and regulation rules. It will lead to nothing. Develop and implement a research and development system to support the formulation and plan the implementation of policy. Develop adequately skilled human resources in collaboration with the universities and the private sector for executing all aspects of the transport sector mandate. And that's one of the programs that you are on. So we're actually fulfilling that part. And apply new and appropriate technology and innovation transport infrastructure and service delivery. And that's what we'll be discussing in terms of sharing economy. So the document does a very good job in going through all of these things. And after that, these are the how to implement it. Please, those of you, as you are all doing, taking a program in logistics and transportation, is there any course that you have gone into this policy, you have discussed it, or you have used it already? Can I hear from you? Or you are yet to?
I have read through it and used it when I was uh, chairman for Rules and Transport Committee in Parliament.
Okay.
So in some way, I've used it. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, Doc. Um, Honorable, thank you. What about the rest of the class? Have you used it in this when you started this program? Have you actually engaged in it? Okay, it looks like some of you is the first time that you're looking into it. Okay, good. If I had known that, then I would have done spent the first time as going through it very well. But because it's not I thought there would be a course that would teach us. Maybe next time we'll look into that. But I'll share some material I have on it. Okay, so what I did is that I went through the documentation here and then try to summarize what will be relevant. It's not that, in my view, what will be relevant, and I on looking at the implications for the ride sharing economy, and I put this document together for you to be able to go through. So it's kind of a semi-comprehensive document that looks at the policy, the structure of the policy, and then sanctions and breaches, which draws from other policies, implication to the ride sharing economy, and then some of the current new the trends that have been coming up. That's the new stories that have been going on in Ghana concerning the ride sharing economy, and what are the issues that people are discussing from the media. And then I look at the future mobility in Ghana in relation to this, and provide some policy implications. Then I give you a quiz at the end that talks about ask a number of questions and answer the questions. Then I ask the ASA type question that can come in exams, but that one I don't provide the answer. But just to give you an idea of what you could have, if you answer a question on this, what could have come up. So without much ado, I'm going to jump into the discussion and we are going to listen whilst I take you through the document. Um, just give me a second. I'm here with Dr. Nibano. Ni, good evening.
Good evening, Prof.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a really timely and complex topic. It's all about how modern transport, driven by digital innovation, moves at such a dizzying speed.
It really does.
I don't
It's
know.
often unpredictable, isn't it? And it challenges even the most meticulously planned policies.
Exactly. And we're going to see that tension play out in some fascinating ways today. Here on the deep dive, our mission, as always, is clear. We take your sources, could be articles, research, maybe even your own notes, and we really try to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight.
Think of it as your shortcut, really. A way to get properly informed without getting totally swamped by all the information out there.
Precisely. For this deep dive, our specific focus is a really comprehensive report looking into the implications of the policy to the ride-sharing economy in Ghana.
Yeah, this should give us a pretty profound understanding of how national policy and all this tech innovation are constantly, interacting, especially one of Africa's most dynamic economies.
And this isn't just any old report, is it?
No, absolutely not. This is a genuinely detailed policy review. It involves a meticulous analysis of the whole ride-sharing market, a clear identification of its implications,
Yep.
and a very thorough examination of the responsible agencies and, importantly, the enforcement mechanisms that are, well, frankly, striving to keep pace.
Sounds foundational.
It really is. It's addressing critical questions for Ghana's future transport landscape.
And it's clear a tremendous amount of expertise has gone into putting this together. This deep dive is based on that significant report and the discussion convened by Professor Richard Boateng of the University of Ghana Business School.
That's right, and with invaluable support from Dr. Jonathan Barnor.
Important context.
And it's really important to keep in mind who this report was primarily aimed at.
Right.
It's the logistics and transportation graduate students at the University of Ghana Business School.
Okay, so tailored insights.
Exactly. It means the insights are specifically designed for a deeper academic and practical understanding of this critical sector, which is evolving so rapidly. It gives a really robust framework for those of you who will, literally be shaping Ghana's transport future.
Like a blueprint for understanding these dynamics.
Precisely. A blueprint for these complex interactions.
So let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to really dive into how Ghana's national transport policy, the NTP, is both, let's say, supporting and being challenged by this rapid growth of ride-sharing platforms.
Yeah.
The names Uber, Bolt, Yango. We're going to explore what that dynamic actually looks like on the ground. This intricate dance between the grand policy goals and the boots-on-the-ground reality.
And as you'll discover, it's not always a smooth waltz, is it?
I imagine not.
No, definitely not. Our objective in this deep dive is really to assess the alignment, or sometimes the striking misalignment, between Ghana's strategic transport goals and the everyday realities of a sector, just profoundly reshaped by digital tech. And we'll also be identifying the crucial roles, the responsibilities of the state agencies trying to navigate this new landscape.
So it's a test case, almost.
In many ways, yes. This report serves as a critical test case for the dynamism, the adaptability of Ghana's national transport policy itself. It really shows how a foundational document like that grapples with these unforeseen technological shifts.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then. Ghana's national transport policy, the foundational framework. When you look at this NTP, what's the fundamental ambition? What's at its core? What kind of future is it trying to build?
Well, at its core, the NTP's ambition is pretty broad but clear: to create a modern, efficient, safe, and secure transportation system for Ghana.
Right. Standard goals, you might think.
Yes, but it stretches far beyond just roads and vehicles. It genuinely envisions an integrated, accessible, sustainable transport system. And crucially, one that directly supports Ghana's broader economic growth, its social development, and even its poverty reduction strategies.
So it's deeply linked to national development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's truly multimodal. It addresses everything: road, rail, maritime, aviation. It thinks about the entire ecosystem.
The whole picture.
The whole picture. It's about laying the groundwork for how people and goods move across the country, which, fundamentally impacts daily life and commerce.
And it's not static, this policy.
No, that's a significant point for our discussion. The most recent version has been revised specifically to address evolving societal needs and critically technological advancements.
Okay, so it's trying to keep up.
It's trying. And this includes the significant addition of a complementary national electric vehicle policy.
Interesting. EV policy included.
Yes, which demonstrates, I think, a clear forward-thinking approach, an attempt to adapt to those global shifts towards cleaner energy and more sustainable transport.
That's a huge undertaking, though, a policy covering so many facets. How is such a broad, ambitious document actually structured to be effective? How do they break it down to make it actionable?
It's structured very meticulously, actually. It's hierarchical. It moves from the broad strategic vision right down to very specific goals and the practical strategies needed to achieve them.
Okay, like layers.
Exactly. Think of it like building a house. It starts with the foundation, the introduction, and context. This section tells you why this transport framework is absolutely vital for Ghana's national development agenda.
Setting the stage.
Precisely. It outlines its fundamental importance, linking transport directly to key economic sectors: trade, agriculture, tourism. It highlights transport not just as a convenience, but really as a bedrock of national progress.
Makes sense. What's next?
Following this, you have the vision and mission statement. Now, the vision for Ghana's transport sector is ambitious, no doubt.
Go on.
It aims to establish Ghana as an integrated, modally complementary, cost-effective, safe, secure, and sustainable transport hub. Not just for Ghana, but for the entire West African subregion.
Wow, okay, a regional hub.
That's the vision. And the mission is to provide robust leadership and guidance for the sector's development. How? Through effective policy formulation, diligent market regulation, strategic asset management, and comprehensive service provision.
Setting the North Star, as you said.
Exactly. It guides all future actions.
Okay, so vision, mission, then what?
Next, the policy outlines its sector-wide goals. These are high-level objectives cutting across all modes of transport: road, rail, maritime, aviation. They form the core strategic pillars, the overarching objectives guiding all the detailed planning that follows.
The big buckets.
The big buckets, yes. And then comes the most detailed part: policies and strategies by goal.
Ah, the specifics.
This is where it gets granular. For each of those overarching goals we just mentioned, the document meticulously details specific policy statements and the precise strategies that will be employed to realize them. This is where the rubber meets the road, really.
The how-to.
The how-to. It outlines the actionable steps and approaches for each objective.
And
Finally, you have the institutional and governance framework. This part is absolutely crucial.
Why is that?
Because it clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities of all the various government ministries, departments, and agencies, the MDAs involved in transport. We're talking Ministry of Transport, DVLA, Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, GPHA, and others.
So who does what?
Exactly. And it places a strong emphasis on coordination between these agencies and also, importantly, on the clear separation of policy formulation from the actual regulation and operational functions, all aiming for better efficiency and accountability.
Okay, that structure makes sense, moving from the big picture down to the nitty-gritty and who's responsible.
Precisely.
So the policy is built around these strategic pillars, these goals. You said 7. This is where it gets really interesting for our listeners, especially those future logistics pros at UGBS.
Yeah, class it's 10, but I summarized them into 7 because I thought those 7 are more succinct and on the point, although some of them tend to support each other.
Let's walk through them, thinking specifically about how they might connect to ride sharing.
Absolutely. These 7 pillars are the thematic heart of the NTP, and they provide a really strong lens for viewing ride sharing.
Okay, number 1.
First, establish Ghana as a transportation hub for the West African subregion.
We heard the vision. How does the policy aim to achieve that?
It focuses on leveraging Ghana's strategic geographical position. The strategies include expanding and modernizing key ports, Tima, Takoradi enhancing airport infrastructure for true aviation hub status, and improving crucial cross-border road and rail links.
Connecting Ghana outwards?
Exactly. Positioning Ghana as the go-to transit point in the subregion.
Yeah.
And thinking about how ride-sharing fits. Well, maybe last-mile connectivity to these hubs. It's an interesting angle.
Okay. Goal number 2.
The second goal is create a sustainable, accessible, affordable, and efficient transport system. This is very user-centric.
Sounds crucial. What does it cover?
It includes policies on improving accessibility, particularly transport links to rural and underserved communities. Ensuring affordability, so costs don't unduly burden the public, especially the urban poor. Enhancing efficiency, reducing travel times, costs through better infrastructure, traffic management, and critically, improving safety, implementing programs to cut down road accidents across all modes.
And ride-sharing's connection here seems obvious.
Very clear. Ride-sharing aims squarely at accessibility and efficiency, particularly for urban populations, right? Though we'll see it's not always straightforward.
Okay. Third goal.
Number 3, integrate land use, transport planning, and development.
Ah, the urban planning link. Often overlooked.
Critically important. This goal addresses the link between how cities develop and the transport challenges that inevitably follow. The policy advocates for stricter land use planning that proactively considers traffic impact before things get built.
Managing demand, not just reacting.
Exactly. Building smarter, more integrated communities. And the explosion of ride-sharing has certainly made this integration, well, even more complex and urgent.
I can imagine. What's the 4th goal?
The 4th is create a vibrant investment and performance-based management environment. This is about funding the transport sector. It emphasizes fostering a favorable environment for private sector participation and investment in both infrastructure and services, promoting public-private partnerships, PPPs, encouraging performance-based contracts for efficiency.
And ride-sharing fits right in here.
Perfectly. As a major private sector innovation, it sits squarely within this goal's aspirations. It's exactly the kind of private sector dynamism the policy wants to encourage.
Got it. Number 5.
The 5th pillar, develop and implement comprehensive governance and institutional frameworks. This deals with the software of the sector, the laws, the regulations, the institutional setups.
The rules of the game.
Precisely. A key principle here is ensuring strong coordination both horizontally between different transport agencies and vertically between national, regional, and district levels.
Joined up thinking.
Ideally, yes. Ensuring clarity, consistency, effective oversight. A challenge certainly amplified by new tech like ride-sharing, which doesn't always fit neatly into existing boxes. Makes sense. 6th goal. Number 6 is ensure sustainable development in the transport sector. This highlights the policy's deep commitment to environmental protection, and social equity.
Sustainability, crucial these days.
Absolutely. It includes specific strategies to mitigate negative environmental impacts, air pollution, greenhouse gases. And a very significant recent development here, as we mentioned, is the inclusion of the National Electric Vehicle Policy.
Right, the EV policy falls under this umbrella.
Exactly. Promoting a transition to cleaner energy, aligning Ghana with global environmental goals. And as we'll discuss, ride-sharing could be a major player, for better or worse, in the sustainability push.
Okay, and the final goal, number 7.
Finally, Goal 7. Develop adequate human resources and apply new technology.
People and tech.
Right. Recognizing that a modern system needs both skilled people and advanced tech. This section outlines policies for human capital development training, capacity building for planners, engineers, operators.
Building expertise.
Yes. And crucially for our discussion, it explicitly promotes the adoption and application of new technologies to improve efficiency, safety, and data management.
So, ride-sharing apps
are a clear and powerful example of exactly the kind of technological application this section encourages. It makes ride-sharing a perfect case study for this policy goal in action.
Okay, that's a comprehensive set of goals. We've seen the blueprint, the vision, the responsibilities laid out, but, a vision without enforcement is just words on paper. How does this policy actually ensure compliance? What are the teeth of the NTP?
That's a crucial question, and it's where clarity is absolutely vital. You don't get sanctioned for breaching a clause of the policy itself. That's not how it works.
Okay. How does it work then?
Sanctions are applied for violating a specific section of an act or a legislative instrument, an LI, that the policy informs or references.
So the policy is the map, the acts and LIs are the specific traffic laws.
That's a good analogy. The NTP is the strategic map, and the acts and LIs are the detailed bylaws that translate that map into actionable, punishable rules.
And who enforces these rules?
Enforcement is carried out by mandated agencies. Think Ghana Police Service, specifically their Motor Traffic and Transport Department, MTTD, the National Road Safety Authority, NRSA, and the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA.
Okay. Can you give us some concrete examples? What kind of breaches lead to what kind of sanctions, especially concerning ride-sharing?
Definitely. Let's look at some examples from the source, as these are the real-world implications for operators, including ride-hailing drivers and companies.
Good.
A major one, directly relevant here, is the failure to register a commercial transport service with the NRSA. This is required by Legislative Instrument 2468.
LI 2468. Okay.
That specific regulation is essentially the rule book bringing all commercial transport, including ride-hailing, under the NRSA's oversight.
So ride-hailing is explicitly covered?
Yes, and recent news reports, say from June 2025, show the NRSA actively enforcing this. Sanctions include monetary penalties, for example, a GH Euro 6,000 penalty for non-registration.
Okay, 6,000 CDs.
And a significant GH Euro 60,000 penalty for non-compliance with lawful notices from the NRSA.
60,000, that's steep.
It is. And beyond fines, the NRSA has ordered non-compliant companies to actually cease operations until they meet the regulatory requirements. So it's not just fines, it can shut down your business.
Wow. Serious consequences. What else?
Another common breach, this one for individual drivers, is driving with an expired license. That's covered in LI 2180.
It happens all the time, I bet. What's the penalty?
Typically involves fines, calculated in penalty units. 1 unit is GH Euro currently. It can also lead to a possible short term of imprisonment or both.
Okay.
But there's a critical secondary sanction here, often overlooked.
What's that?
Insurance companies are legally justified in repudiating claims, refusing to pay out if a driver has an expired license at the time of an accident.
So the fine could be the least of your worries.
Exactly. The financial implications can be huge, potentially leaving individuals or companies very vulnerable.
Right. What about safety-related offenses?
Moving to road safety, things like dangerous driving, careless driving, or driving under the influence of alcohol. These are defined in the Road Traffic Act, Act 683. They're serious offenses with severe penalties.
Like what?
Heavy fines, hundreds or thousands of penalty units. Imprisonment terms from months to several years, especially if injury or death results. And courts can order suspension or even permanent revocation of the driver's license.
Strong deterrence.
They need to be for maintaining road discipline.
Okay. Any others relevant to ride-sharing operations?
Yes. There's the breach of failure to adhere to fare reductions agreed upon by transport unions. Now, this isn't strictly a national statutory offense, but it can be treated as a breach of local-level regulations. For example, a June 2025 report mentioned the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, the KMA, finding drivers for not complying with agreed fare reductions.
So local authorities have enforcement power, too.
Yes, MNDAs, metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies can enforce transport directives within their jurisdictions. Another layer.
Interesting. And specifically for the ride-hailing companies themselves.
Well, operating a ride-hailing service without being registered with the NRSA is a clear breach. As we said, they fall under commercial transport operator rules.
So those hefty fines and suspension orders apply directly to them.
Explicitly, under LI 2468, that's how the regulatory framework directly targets the digital platforms.
Oh, okay. And what about this new digital fee?
Ah, yes. The failure by a ride-hailing company to collect and remit the digital transport fee. This is relatively new, but increasingly important.
What happens if they don't comply?
Non-compliance with a directive from a regulatory body like the DVLA, which oversees this fee, can lead to sanctions against the company's very license to operate in Ghana.
So that's a powerful tool for ensuring compliance with these new digital taxes.
A very powerful tool. It ensures platforms contribute to the transport revenue framework and meet their tax obligations.
So to sum up the enforcement part.
In summary, the national transport policy is the guiding philosophy, the strategy. But the teeth, the enforcement, the actual penalties come from specific acts and legislative instruments. Breaches trigger sanctions ranging from fines to license suspensions, imprisonment, and even business cessation, all enforced by designated state agencies. It's complex, but structured.
Okay, that clarifies the enforcement side significantly. Now we have this solid understanding of the NTP, its structure, goals, enforcement. Let's zoom right in on the ride-sharing economy itself. This is where policy meets this new digital world.
Where the rubber meets the digital road, maybe.
Exactly. The report identifies, 21 implications of this policy on the ride-sharing sector? That's a lot.
It is. It really covers the spectrum.
Let's break them down. The report groups them into positive, negative, neutral, and forward-looking impacts. This should give us a really comprehensive picture of how these two forces interact.
Sounds good. Let's start with the positive implications. These are the areas where the policy's goals and ride-sharing's realities seem to align pretty well, showcasing how innovation can actually help drive national objectives.
Makes sense. What's the first positive?
First up is increased private sector participation. Ride-sharing platforms are, a textbook example of the private sector-led innovation the transport policy actively wants to encourage.
Right. Fits that investment goal.
Perfectly. Their existence, their growth, aligns with creating that vibrant investment environment. They've undeniably injected capital and dynamism into the sector.
Okay. Positive number 2.
Second, improved accessibility and convenience. There's no denying that these apps have significantly improved how accessible and convenient personalized transport is for many Ghanaians, especially in busy urban centers.
Tap a button, car arrives. Big change.
Huge leap, particularly for those without personal vehicles. This directly supports the policy's objective of an accessible, affordable, reliable, effective, and efficient transport system. It links specifically to improving access to amenities, jobs, education.
Clear benefit there. Third positive.
Third is enhanced user safety features. Many apps have built-in safety features, GPS tracking, driver details, emergency buttons.
Things you wouldn't get in a traditional taxi necessarily.
Often not, or not as easily accessible. These features directly contribute to the policy's critical goal of a safe and secure transport system for everyone. It connects to ensuring safety for all categories of road users, a definite step up.
Good point. Fourth,
the promotion of new technologies. The very existence and widespread adoption of Uber, Bolt, Yango, it's proof of successful tech application in transport.
which the policy explicitly encourages.
Exactly. It's a key objective of the revised NTP under Goal 7 about applying new tech. It showcases how technology can genuinely revolutionize service delivery, pushing the whole sector forward.
Okay. Fifth positive implication.
A very significant one. Job creation. The ride-sharing economy has undeniably created income opportunities for thousands of drivers across Ghana,
A vital source of livelihood for many.
especially in a context of high unemployment. This directly contributes to broader national development goals related to employment and poverty reduction, which the transport policy is designed to support.
Right. And sixth positive.
Finally, price transparency and competition. The transparent pricing models, knowing the fare up front, have brought new competition and predictability to a market often characterized by haggling.
Less uncertainty for the rider.
Definitely. This aligns well with the policy's aim for affordability and efficiency, specifically the goal of moving people and goods at least cost. It's a significant advantage and a strong market force.
Okay, so those are some clear upsides where policy and ride-sharing seem to work together. But as with any major disruption, there's another side to the coin. Let's delve into the negative implications. The report flags the challenges, the friction points, the unintended consequences.
Yes, the disruptive nature definitely presents significant challenges. The first negative implication highlighted is increased urban congestion.
More cars on the road, essentially.
Exactly. The proliferation of ride-sharing vehicles, especially in already crowded urban areas like Accra or Kumasi, can directly worsen traffic jams.
Which works against the efficiency goal.
Directly. It contradicts the aim to minimize the cost of providing services, because congestion inherently increases costs and travel times for everyone, a real headache for urban planners.
Okay. Second negative.
Secondly, the undermining of traditional taxi services. The intense competition from these platforms has posed a significant, sometimes existential challenge to traditional taxi drivers and operators.
Leading to tensions, right? We've seen reports.
Considerable tensions. It highlights a critical need for policy to ensure a level playing field, to integrate new players without completely displacing established livelihoods. It points back to needing that comprehensive and integrated policy, governance, and institutional frameworks to manage disruption fairly.
A tough balancing act. Third negative concern.
A major one, and one that gets a lot of attention: driver welfare and labor rights concerns.
The gig economy issues.
Precisely. The model raises significant concerns. Drivers working excessively long hours, facing low or fluctuating earnings due to commissions and competition, often lacking basic Social Security or employment protections.
A gap in the policy.
A notable gap, yes. The current policy focuses more on the user and system efficiency, less explicitly on the welfare and rights of all service providers. For our future transport professionals listening, this is a major ethical and practical challenge.
Definitely something to watch. Fourth negative.
Fourth, there's increased pollution. More vehicles, potentially older or less fuel-efficient ones used for ride-sharing, can increase air pollution, especially in cities.
Contradicting the sustainability goal.
Directly. It works against Policy Goal 6, ensure sustainable development in the transport sector, especially where urban air quality is already a pressing issue.
Okay. Fifth, and this sounds very current.
Fifth, yes, very current, data privacy concerns. The new digital transport guidelines from the DVLA mandate extensive real-time data sharing by the companies.
What kind of data?
GPS coordinates, passenger info, driver details. Quite comprehensive. And this raises significant privacy and data protection concerns for both users and drivers.
So the tech is encouraged, but the data rules are lagging.
That's the issue. The policy encourages tech, but it currently lacks a robust framework for managing the complex data governance challenges that come with these digital operations. It's a brand new regulatory frontier.
And the final negative implication.
A sixth one, double taxation concerns. The introduction of that GH1 digital transport fee per trip, especially layered on top of the existing e-levy on mobile money payments.
People see it as paying twice.
Widely criticized as double taxation, yes. This potentially undermines the policy's aim of ensuring an affordable transport system, possibly making ride-sharing less accessible or more burdensome, particularly for lower-income users.
Right, impacting affordability. So, clear positives and negatives. But the report also mentions neutral implications. What falls into this category? Developments that aren't inherently good or bad, but represent shifts.
That's right. These are significant changes the policy needs to acknowledge and manage. First is the formalization of the informal transport sector.
How so?
Well, the new DVLA guidelines requiring ride-sharing vehicles and drivers to register and be licensed. That's a big move. It brings a segment of the previously very informal transport sector into a more regulated, orderly framework.
Which aligns with policy goals for order?
Broadly, yes.
Right.
It aligns with creating a more structured transport market, though, as we just saw with the taxation and privacy issues, implementation brings its own challenges, and public acceptance isn't automatic.
Okay. Second neutral implication.
Secondly, ride-sharing represents a new revenue stream for government. That digital transport fee, plus the vehicle income tax, VIT, for ride-hailing vehicles, it creates a new dedicated income stream from this growing sector.
Money for the government coffers.
Essentially, yes. This supports the policy's goal of ensuring financial sustainability for the transport sector. Theoretically, these funds can be reinvested into infrastructure and services. It's a way for the government to capture value from this new economy.
Makes sense. And a third neutral point.
A third one is the integration with public transport. Now, this isn't fully realized yet, but the technology used by ride-sharing has huge potential.
For what
for
exactly?
integrating with existing public transport. Think first and last mile. Connectivity, getting people from home to the bus stop or train station and back again.
Solving that connection gap.
Exactly. This concept aligns perfectly with the policy's vision of a modally complementary and integrated transport network. Even if the full potential here is still, in its early stages in Ghana, it's an exciting future possibility, though.
Definitely. Okay, so we've covered the present impacts, positive, negative, neutral, but the report looks ahead too, identifying forward-looking implications. What glimpses into the future does it offer? What does policy need to prepare for? Crucial stuff for our graduate students.
Exactly. This is about anticipating the next waves. The first forward-looking implication is the potential for electric vehicle adoption.
Linking back to the EV policy.
Precisely. With the National Electric Vehicle Policy now part of the framework, there's a significant opportunity for ride-sharing companies to actually lead the transition to EVs.
Why them specifically?
Because their vehicles have high utilization rates. They cover a lot of kilometers. So incentivizing or mandating them to switch could drive substantial EV adoption relatively quickly, aligning perfectly with that sustainability goal and cutting emissions.
Imagine a largely electric rideshare fleet. Big impact.
Massive win for sustainability, potentially.
Okay. Second forward-looking point.
Secondly, all these challenges and opportunities really underscore the need for a more responsive regulatory framework. The rapid pace of tech innovation demands that government develops a more agile, adaptive regulatory approach, one that can keep pace rather than constantly playing catch-up. This aligns with the policy objective of developing comprehensive and integrated policy, governance, and institutional frameworks capable of handling dynamic changes.
A fundamental shift in how policy needs to work.
Absolutely. Less static, more dynamic.
Third forward-looking implication.
This one points to opportunities for local tech development. The success of these big foreign ride-sharing apps in Ghana could actually spur the development of homegrown alternatives.
Local competitors or related tech.
Both, and other transport-related technologies too. This fosters local innovation entrepreneurship, contributing to the policy goal of applying new tech, but interpreted now as fostering local ingenuity and building domestic capacity, creating new industries potentially.
Interesting possibility. Fourth,
enhanced land use and transport planning. The sheer volume of data generated by ride-sharing platforms, trip origins, destinations, routes, times.
a data goldmine.
Absolutely. This data can be invaluable for urban planners. Used properly, it can help them understand real-time travel patterns and inform more effective land use and transport planning. This links directly to the policy's goal of integrating land use and transport planning. It offers insights that were previously impossible to gather at this scale.
Using the data for smarter cities. Makes sense.
Fifth is improved accessibility for persons with disabilities. Now, as we'll discuss more with the media reports, this is currently a significant challenge.
The lack of accessible vehicles.
Exactly. But the transport policy's strong emphasis on accessibility provides a clear framework, a lever, to push ride-sharing companies to offer more wheelchair-accessible vehicles, WAVs, and services.
Which would be transformative for many.
Dramatically improve mobility and independence for persons with disabilities. It aligns with the policy aim of enhancing travel for the less mobile, including the elderly and handicapped, a crucial area for future progress and advocacy.
Definitely. And the final forward-looking point.
And finally, number 6 is really about the broader future of urban mobility. The ongoing evolution of ride-sharing, think carpooling features, maybe autonomous vehicles down the line, deeper integration with other modes.
It's constantly changing?
Constantly. This will continue to profoundly shape urban mobility in Ghana. And this necessitates a perpetually forward-looking adaptive transport policy, one that can respond to and guide these innovations, ensuring the overall vision of a transport system that meets user needs remains relevant and effective.
So, for those entering the field,
Understanding these future trajectories is paramount. You need to think 5, 10, 20 years ahead.
So, wrapping up this section on implications, what's the big takeaway?
The big takeaway is that Ghana's NTP provides this broad framework that, well, both significantly supports and is undeniably challenged by ride-sharing. It's a double-edged sword.
How so?
Ride-sharing aligns beautifully with goals like private sector innovation, tech application, user accessibility. But it simultaneously exposes gaps and creates pressure points around regulation, driver welfare, congestion, sustainability.
A complex interplay.
Very complex, constantly evolving, the policies being tested and hopefully refined in real time.
Okay, we've thoroughly explored the policy and its theoretical implications. But theory is one thing. What's actually happening on the ground in Ghana? The report uses several media reports to illustrate these implications. Let's look at that real-world evidence.
Right. This is where theory meets reality. It gives us tangible examples. We'll look at 7 specific media reports and connect them directly back to those implications we just discussed, the positive, negative, neutral, and forward-looking ones.
Excellent. Let's start with Report 1.
Okay, Report 1 deals with regulation and new taxes. This comes from Tekabal, titled Ride-Hailing Passengers in Ghana Sour on New Tax, dated April 5, 2023.
I remember hearing about this, the G.A. Chiron levy.
That's the one. Introduced under the DVLA's Digital Transport Guidelines. The article highlights public concerns about double taxation, especially when using mobile money, which already has the e-levy.
And the privacy issue, too.
Crucially, yes. It flags significant privacy concerns, be that the new rules mandate companies share extensive real-time trip data with the DVLA passenger info, GPS, driver details.
So what's the analysis here?
It underscores the government's attempt to formalize the sector and generate revenue, which aligns with policy goals. However, it also reveals a disconnect with public sentiment backlash over the fee. And the privacy issues point to a lag in the regulatory framework adapting to data complexities.
How does this connect to the implications we discussed?
Directly supports the negative implication, data privacy concerns, and negative implication, double taxation concerns. It's also a prime example of the neutral implication, formalization of the informal transport sector, the government bringing ride-sharing into a formal taxable framework, albeit controversially.
Okay, Report number 2.
Report 2 focuses on driver welfare and labor rights. This is from City Newsroom. Ride-hailing drivers push for government regulation of business from June 19, 2022.
Drivers asking for more regulation.
Yes. The Online Drivers Union called for government intervention. They cited rising fuel prices, poor working conditions, and companies not adjusting fares adequately. The union president pointed out the lack of a specific regulatory body for ride-hailing, unlike, say, lottery or education, and demanded action to protect drivers.
What does this tell us?
It vividly highlights the growing pains of the gig economy. Drivers feel vulnerable, lacking traditional protections. The appeal signifies a demand for policy that addresses the service provider's welfare, not just the tech or the consumer.
Connection to implication.
Directly substantiates the negative implication, driver welfare and labor rights concerns. Shows a clear gap where future policy needs to step in.
Got it. Report 3.
Report 3. Safety and a call for collective responsibility. This is an opinion piece from City Newsroom, February 26, 2025, titled Prioritizing Safety, a Collective Responsibility in Ghana's Ride-Hailing Ecosystem.
Collective responsibility.
Yes. It acknowledges the app, safety features GPS, screening, but argues concerns remain for both drivers and riders. The key argument is that safety is a shared responsibility.
Between who?
Government, through regulation, companies, tech, training, and users, using in-app features, providing feedback. It mentions the DVLA's foundational role in licensing, too.
So not just blaming the apps.
Exactly. It reflects a more mature understanding. Technology is a tool, not a complete solution. Regulation, corporate policy, user behavior must all align.
And the implications linkage.
It acknowledges the positive implication, enhanced user safety features, confirming their benefit. And it implicitly supports the forward-looking implication need for a more responsive regulatory framework by calling for this more comprehensive collaborative approach.
All right. Report number 4.
Report 4, Market Dynamics and Competition. This is from Tech Labari, the state of ride-sharing in Ghana in 2022, dated May 27, 2024. It gives a market overview.
What are the key takeaways?
It details the dominance of Uber and Bolt, their expansion into multiple cities, their competitive strategies, commission rates, adding services like package delivery. It also notes that while local competitors emerged, most struggled against the giants.
Interesting. Anything else?
It also points out the continued reliance on cash payments and the lack of mobile money integration as a notable market feature back then.
What's the analysis here?
Illustrates powerful market forces, network effects, brand recognition, shows increased choice for consumers, which is good, but also challenges for local startups, raising questions about market concentration.
Connection to implication.
Clear illustration of the positive implication, increased private sector participation, and positive implication, price transparency and competition. It also indirectly supports the negative implication, undermining of traditional taxi services, by showing the sheer dominance and expansion of ride-sharing.
Makes sense. Report 5.
Report 5 addresses accessibility for persons with disabilities. Also from Tech Labari, ride-hailing services in Ghana struggle to meet wheelchair accessibility needs, September 18th, 2023.
We touched on this. What did the report find?
A significant gap. A severe lack of wheelchair-accessible vehicles, WAVs. It notes that despite disability laws mandating access to public transport, there are no clear standards or enforcement for the ride-hailing apps themselves.
Leaving wheelchair users stranded, essentially.
Exactly, limiting their mobility and independence significantly. It's a critical inclusivity failure.
What's the underlying issue identified?
Failure of both companies to innovate for inclusivity and regulatory bodies to adequately enforce existing disability laws within this new tech context.
And the implication?
Directly supports the forward-looking implication, improved accessibility for persons with disabilities, highlighting this as a pressing need and opportunity for both policy and corporate action to serve the less mobile, as the policy states.
A crucial gap to fill. Report 6.
Report 6. Economic Impact and Job Creation. This is from GBC Ghana Online, July 10, 2023. Ride-hailing. A beacon of hope for jobs, but challenges persist for drivers in Ghana.
A beacon of hope. Sounds positive.
It explores that dual nature. On one hand, yes, a beacon of hope for employment in a high unemployment context, providing income.
But
it also delves into the significant challenges drivers face. High cost of living, rising fuel prices, increased competition for more drivers entering the market, which has deteriorated earnings over time for many.
So a balanced perspective.
Yes. It confirms job creation, but emphasizes the economic precarity. While opportunities exist, the quality and sustainability of these jobs are a growing concern.
Connecting to implications.
Provides strong evidence for the positive implication, job creation, but simultaneously offers powerful support for the negative implication, driver welfare and labor rights concerns. It's that complex socioeconomic picture again.
Right. And the final media report, number 7.
Finally, Report 7 highlights innovation and market disruption. This is from New Economy Ghana, March 22, 2024. Uber, Yango, Bolt, and more. Disruptions with value addition in urban transport.
Disruption with value addition. Interesting framing.
Yes. It frames ride-sharing's entry as filling a market gap, offering transparent pricing, improved security, customized services, things often lacking in traditional taxis.
Did it replace existing transport?
The report notes it didn't really replace the Trotro system. Instead, it captured a different market segment, especially younger, tech-savvy users.
What's the analysis?
Classic creative destruction. Innovation creating new value for consumers. And importantly, it's not necessarily zero-sum. Different modes serve different needs.
And the implications link.
A powerful testament to the positive implication. Promotion of new technologies, showcasing successful tech application. And it directly supports the positive implication. Price transparency and competition, underscoring how ride-hailing benefited consumers and aligned with policy efficiency goals.
Okay, those media reports really bring the implications to life, showing the real-world tensions and benefits. So the challenges and opportunities are clear. But who is actually responsible for translating the policy's vision into reality on the ground? The report gets specific about agencies, right? Crucial for our future transport planners listening.
Absolutely. This is critical because it shows the NTP isn't just theory. It's meant to be actionable. It assigns direct responsibility to various MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies.
So each objective has someone tasked with it.
Exactly. Each objective has corresponding strategies and, crucially, designated state institutions explicitly tasked to lead implementation.
Yeah.
This link between goals and institutional accountability is fundamental.
Let's break down some key examples. Regulation of these new services.
Right. For regulation of new transport services, including digital platforms, the mandate is clear. Develop and enforce specific regulations for oversight, standardization, integration. This falls under Policy Objective 7.3, Institute and Enforce Regulations, and Strategy 7.3.1 about developing urban transport regulations, the primary responsible agency, the Ministry of Transport. They're the architects here.
Okay, Ministry of Transport leads on regulation. What about safety and data?
For enhancing road safety through data sharing, the policy mandates creating an interconnected digital database. The idea is for enforcement bodies, licensing authorities, insurance, judiciary to share real-time info to improve law enforcement and safety.
Ambitious. Who's responsible?
This is under Objective 1.3, Ensure Safety and Security, and Strategy 4.2.1.3.4 specifies the database. It's a collaborative effort. Ministry of Transport, DVLA, NRSA, Ghana Police Service, and the Ghana Insurers Association. Shows the multi-stakeholder approach needed.
Makes sense. What about accessibility for persons with disabilities?
For ensuring accessibility for persons with disabilities, PWDs, the policy is very direct. All transport infrastructure and services must be accessible. It mandates implementing the PWD's Act vehicles, facilities designed with proper access.
Which objective covers this?
Objective 1.7. Ensure user-friendly facilities for PWDs, and Strategy 4.2.1.7.2 specifies vehicle design requirements. Responsible agencies include the Ministry of Transport, DVLA, plus the state transport companies like Intercity STC Coaches, Ltd., ISTC, and Metro Mass Transit, Ltd., MMT. They're on the hook for inclusivity.
Okay. And the link between transport and urban planning?
The integration of land use and transport planning. To manage urban growth and curb congestion, the policy makes it mandatory. Transport planning must integrate with spatial planning. New developments need transport impact evaluation and sign-off.
Which agencies handle that?
It's Policy Objective 5.2, requiring evaluation and sign-off, with Strategy 4.2.5.2.1 emphasizing coordination. Responsibility lies with the Ministry of Transport, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, and crucially, all sector ministries. Transport isn't just a transport issue, it's embedded across government planning.
Important point. What about walking and cycling, non-motorized transport?
Promoting non-motorized transport, NMT, the policy aims to formalize and protect walking and cycling. It requires dedicated, safe facilities integrated into all transport projects, plus maintaining existing ones.
Who ensures that happens?
That's Objective 1.4, integrate non-motorized transport facilities, and Strategy 4.2.1.4.1 mandates providing safe facilities. Responsible agencies include the Ministry of Transport, working with M&DAs, Ghana Airports Company Ltd, GACL, Ministry of Roads and Highways, and Ministry of Railways Development, a collective effort to make NMT viable.
Okay. And finally, applying new tech beyond just ride-sharing.
Yes, the application of new technology for maintenance and operations. The policy directs agencies to adopt modern ICT, information and communication technology, to improve planning, management, maintenance of infrastructure and services, leveraging tech for railways, road maintenance, etc.
And who drives that?
This is under Goal 10, apply new and appropriate technology, with Objective 10.2 specifying ICT adoption. Key responsible agencies are the Ministry of Railways Development and the Ministry of Transport. They're tasked with bringing the whole sector into the digital age.
So wrapping up this section on responsibility?
The key takeaway is the NTP isn't just aspirational. It's a detailed roadmap assigning authority. For every key implication, from regulating ride-hailing to ensuring disability access, the policy pinpoints the specific government bodies mandated to act. This link between policy and accountability is fundamental. For those graduate students listening, understanding these mandates shows where future policy work and innovation will likely be focused.
Okay, that's incredibly clear on the who does what. So, bringing it all together, what does this all mean for the future of mobility in Ghana? Particularly for our core audience, those logistics and transportation graduate students at UGBS who are grappling with these issues daily and will be shaping this future.
Well, I think what it ultimately means is that Ghana's national transport policy is really this foundational framework.
Okay.
It acts as both a catalyst for and a respondent to the disruptive force of ride-sharing.
A two-way street.
Exactly. It sets a clear strategic direction, integrated, sustainable, efficient transport. But the rapid evolution of services like ride-hailing presents this critical real-time test of the policy's adaptability, its robustness, its continued relevance in a modernizing Ghana.
And the implications are complex, as we've seen.
Absolutely multifaceted.
Yeah.
On one hand, ride-sharing's growth is undeniable proof of the policy's success in pushing for private sector participation, tech application, improving user convenience.
Yeah.
Its enhanced accessibility created jobs aligning with broader development goals.
And on the other hand,
its rapid rise has exposed critical gaps and created new pressures. The policy framework is still, frankly, learning to address effectively.
like congestion, driver welfare.
Exactly. Congestion, precarious driver welfare, undermining traditional services. These highlight areas where the high-level NTP goals need more specific, nuanced, agile regulations.
And the media reports showed the challenges of implementation.
Yes, they confirm that while regulatory bodies are taking steps, new fees, guidelines to formalize the sector, these actions spark robust public debate on affordability, data privacy, fairness. It shows the very delicate balance that policymakers have to strike. For those of you entering this field, finding that balance will be a constant challenge and also an opportunity.
And the policy's real power lies in the enforcement, through the acts and LIs.
Correct. Our discussion on sanctions clarified that the NTP is the guide, but the power is vested in specific laws, like the road traffic regulations, the NRSA Act. The core challenge isn't the policy's vision, but the continuous development and consistent enforcement of regulations that can keep pace with these agile, often borderless digital platforms.
Policymaking playing catch-up.
It often feels like that. It requires innovation in policymaking itself.
So what's the final word on the relationship between the policy and ride-sharing?
Ultimately, it's dynamic and symbiotic. Ride-sharing catalyzes policy goals, forces tech adoption, service innovation. In return, the policy provides essential guardrails aiming for safety, sustainability, equity. It's about channeling disruption for the greater good. And it's a living case study for anyone involved in transportation policy.
This has been a really deep dive, covering so much ground. This journey through Ghana's transport policy and the ride-sharing economy leaves us with a lot to think about. Connecting it to the bigger picture, the report makes a compelling argument that the ride-sharing economy is more than just a new way to get around. It's a critical case study that will profoundly shape the future of urban mobility and truly test the nation's resolve to build a transport system that is genuinely for all.
That's very well put. And it raises a crucial, perhaps provocative, final question for everyone listening, especially our future transport leaders.
Go on.
Given the accelerating speed of technological change we're seeing everywhere, how can future transport policies be designed not just to react, but to be truly future-proof, or at the very least, dynamically adaptable, so they aren't constantly playing catch-up with the next big innovation?
A fundamental challenge.
It's a challenge not just for Ghana, but for nations worldwide grappling with this pace of change. And it's a central question for anyone shaping the future of transportation.
A perfect thought to end on. That's been a truly insightful journey. Thank you for joining us today on the Deep Dive as we explored the intricate implications of Ghana's transport policy on the ride-sharing economy.
And thank you for listening. We encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating intersection of policy, technology, and innovation in transportation. There's always more to learn, always more connections to make.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep digging deeper.
Okay, thank you very much, class. Let's hear from you. You listened to it yourself. You heard it. I had some questions here. What's the primary objective of the transport policy and how does it relate to ride sharing? I wanted to point out that it's both supports and is challenged by the ride-sharing economy as a good platform like Uber aligns with the private sector investment and new technology, but also introduces congestion and labor rights, which are issues. Two positive implications are increased private sector participation as ride-hailing platforms or sharing platforms exemplify private-led innovation and improve accessibility and convenience, offering more personalized transport options, especially in urban centers. Two negative are increased urban congestion and the concerns over driver welfare and labor rights, which we have talked about in the previous weeks. Two challenges faced by ride sharing include inadequate fare adjustment despite the rising fuel prices and poor working conditions. Okay. Digital transport fee of Ghana City imposed on every ride-hailing trip by DVLA. It's raised public concerns about double taxation. Okay. Welcome. Then accessibility to persons with disability, and then quite a number of things that were brought out. So I don't want to go through all of them, but I just want to see. Let me hear from you. Is there anything you picked up? What was profound to you concerning the national policy and then its relationship with the um ride sharing economy? What didn't you know? Please share with me. This is one of the exam questions, so you have to discuss it together. Yes, class. Yeah. Honorable, please can go ahead.
Yeah, Prof, that's very wonderful piece. I've actually enjoyed it, and in the comment section or on the message chat session, I said we need to have a look at it carefully. And as we suggested, if we let the Ministry of Transportation, that is the Ministry of Transport and Roads and Highways, to have a look at it. That's a major problem that we have in this country. When such documents are put together, you see the gap between the academicians and the politicians. Very difficult to fuse their ideas and come out with implementation of such fine presentation or documents. One issue that I pick from it is the private sector participation of the transport system in this country. Most of the advanced countries, the UK for instance, government only owns infrastructure of the transport sector. The service is being provided by the private sector, and it's helping a lot. If you go to their road transport, same. The infrastructure, what I mean by the roads, are owned by the state, and the services is provided by the private sector. If you go to railways in the UK, same. The infrastructure is owned by the state, but services are provided by the private sector. In aviation, government owns some of the airports, and the airlines are for the private sector. If you go to maritime, same. Ports and the seaports are owned by the states, and the private sector are the shipping lines. But when we come to Ghana, we have, instead of getting the companies to run or to provide services on especially road transport, we rather have associations. Associations running transport it's a cake. It is something outmoded, something that most can. I don't know. I'm yet to know any advanced country that have been so successful in road transport that the service is being provided by association. What I mean by the association is for instance, the GPRTU, we have Pro Tour, we have Ghana National Road Transport Coordinating Council. This when we have such association providing services, what the issues that you have raised are the issues that we should expect. I suggested once at a workshop when I was the chairman of the Rules and Transport Committee in Parliament that we must convert these associations and the unions into companies. If we have the GPRTU Company Limited, you end up having banks and other financial institutions prepared to provide them a high purchase vehicle or loans to provide higher occupant vehicles that will do this intra-city transport system for us, other than the usual minivans that have been converted into a trotros or buses that has a high rates of accident and high injury when accident occurs. So I've been advocating for the fact that we should convert these unions into companies when, like what VIP is trying to do. VIP is made up of individuals who have their vehicles, put it together as a company with a CEO, and the owners of the vehicles are the shareholders, and they form the board that proposes programs and suggestions to the CEOs to manage. And until we do that, we are not going to get a full private participation, as you put. One issue that you raised that is of concern is this regulatory bodies. If you go to the aviation sector, we have Ghana Civil Aviation Authority that regulates Ghana Airport Company and other agencies under the aviation sector. If you go to railway, we have a Ministry of Railway that has been scrapped though, and then we have Ghana Railway Development Authority is the regulator, and then Ghana Railway Company Limited is the service provider. You go also at the aviation sector, we have the Ghana Maritime Authority, the regulator under the Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Port and Harbour Authority, and other agencies working under them. But when you come to road sector, hardly you see any regulator. You will see the DVLA acting as a regulator in some kind, and at the same time providing services. And you national road, how to call it, the National Road Safety Authority also acting as a regulator in some kind and also providing services. And DVLA will not allow National road safety authority to be the regulator to regulate its activities, and there always friction among companies under the road sector. Meanwhile, road transport plays about 94 to 95% of our road system, transport system in this country. So this is a piece that must be carefully looked at, and the issues that you have raised. For instance, quite recently we started this Ayalolo, and we issued this e-cash system that you purchased you put your fare on a card, and people did that, and the vehicles were nowhere to be found. Yeah, people who have put their money on the card cannot use their money; it got trapped on the card. And also, recently, Metro Mass Transit Company, also that is MMT, the Kufuor bus, also started similar issue. And because of previous experience, it was not fully patronized by Ghanaians. So this is a very good piece that we should look at it and see how government can get into it and then make proper use of it, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think you've actually said it all, and you made some key points about the way there's lack of synergy between those who produce knowledge and those whose actions should be informed by the knowledge. And sometimes I blame we who produce the knowledge. We don't communicate it in forms that it can easily digested by those who act on the knowledge. So maybe starting with this one, maybe we can do something. I don't know whether we'll do a seminar, an online seminar, and they can join, or well, we can send this document to them. I'll think about it and then get back to you. Um, and the other thing is, this class, there are quite a number of practitioners here. As we are imparting this knowledge, I think you should pick it up. I'll give you the document to you. You can even show it to a few of them, even though do not share in it or do not copy. You can share it to few people that you want them to have a look at it, and so that the conversations can begin. Um, I think what I'll do is that I think the one I shared doesn't have my details on it, my phone number and stuff. So I'll share another one with my details on it so that you can actually use it. Okay, so thank you very much. And Dr. Nee, let me hear from you if you are in a good position to share.
Yes, Prof. I'm here. So, building on Honorable's contribution on how GPRTU and co or our transport system is run by individual bodies or groups, it stems from the fact that I'm not defending whatever is happening, but it stems from the fact that we run largely an informal economy. It shouldn't be, let's say, impossible to privatize the transport system. However, we should be ready to face resistance. We know how our system fights back when government tries to put things in place. So I must say that it stems from the fact that we operate largely an informal economy. And so bit by bit, maybe we'll take a small portion of maybe those traveling long distances should have a company which would recognized by government and also by possibly funding organizations like banks so that they will buy proper vehicles. And then from there, you move to the other section, maybe the shorter distances, Labadi to circle type of people. I mean, groups, so we call them the GPRTU groups. So you can gradually privatize there. But if we decide to go all at once, then we would have that resistance. That's my little contribution to Honorable's take.
Okay, thank you very much. Gitsi and Frank and Co. Let's hear from you guys. So what's my namesake?
Yes. Prof, my take. In fact, it's a very nice piece. You've been able to deal with every nook and cranny of the road sector, including both the waters and what have you. But the question that I have that I would like to ask is about how can we use this whole initiative to manage our land use? Because I heard in the podcast that this will go, or it will, as it were, provide a means by which we can actually minimize, our land use. I'm just looking at how this could help in this way, because you could see that in the podcast it says that the big cities like Kumasi and Accra as areas where there's a lot of traffic and things like that. So I would like to know how we can use this initiative to minimize land use. That's what I want to know. And also, I didn't hear of the one they call the levy that government introduced, even though government has not implemented it. The D levy. All I heard was of the E levy, which has been abolished, but in the podcast it's still there. So I don't know whether it was an oversight or something. So if you could explain that to us, that would be very grateful, sir. Thank you, Prof.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Your D levy and your E levy is just about the timing of the document.
All right.
The timing of the document. The document was done a little bit earlier, and I've just been updating it. But Mama had forgotten that the E levy has been removed. So I think that's something that I'll let Dr. Nee work on the document and add and remove that.
That's fine.
Yeah, but you are right. The key point that you mentioned is that some of the things have not been were not mentioned. The D levy was not put in place, but we didn't talk about that. Yeah, but I think the E levy was made in passing with the fact that by bringing in the tax levy, it also became something that on top of the E levy became burdensome on some of the companies. Primarily companies like Glovo and a few others who were discouraged and left the economy was all because of the dollar and then the levies that were brought in. But to tell you the truth, I have an argument. I think I have a presentation I did somewhere. It was captured by Ghana Web. And I was arguing that these people take a lot of money out of the country in a month. Too. Even before government bought the levy, that's about 2 or 3 years ago, I was in a seminar and I mentioned that if you have 70,000 riders, and even only 50, let's say even half of them are working, say 30,000 are working a day, and each of them is making a number of rides, and you take a percentage. So let's say the person that's about, let's say you take about 25%. So that's about let's say 2,000 Ghana or 3,000 Ghana series of. In fact, some of them make savings of about make profit of for themselves 4,000 a month. So 4,000 a month, that's what they are taking. So that means that you can just say that something 25% has been deducted and they bought their fuel and they got 4,000 a month. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say. So I know friends who were on it and they say that each car gives me about 4,000 Ghana cedis a month minus
Okay.
fuel minus is it 4,000 Ghana cedis a month, 4,000 a week, I think it's a week or a month. Well, I've forgotten the actual value. Sorry, it's a month. It's a month. It's a month. Good. It's a month. Then I did the research with quite a number of people. They are not here. Dr. Budu and Dr. Obed. Yeah, 4,000 Ghana cedis a month. Yes, and that's what he's taking home, and the company has taken their 25% already.
Hmm.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, that's a
Take your
huge
fuel out of it. So let's just say that the fuel is just another, let's say even 6,000, and the company's on is 25% of everything that you made. Technically, the company could be making around. Let me see if I can find the Ghana Web analysis because I can't remember Ghana Web. Ghana Web. I want to read what I did. I said there. It was a very profound statement. It actually changed. Ghana Web Uber. I want to get this. Good. That's the story here. Ghana, the story said GBC even covered it. So this is, let me not talk too much. I want you to read the story yourself. I will just show you. So good. The calculation is here.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the seminar with the calculation because I had actually done but I don't want to use something that, hey, Ghana will be open it once and then all kinds of things are open. Okay, good. Let me just share my screen. But so listen to look at it too. So I was managing a project called the Fair Work Project, the fairness in the economy. So Prof Boateng said in an interview with GBC at the launch of the 2022 Fair Work, when you take the fact that you earn 350, I think for that too, you pay 25%. So let's say in a day you make 350, which in a day will make which makes that you kept 75% and 25% has gone. So the platform are making an average of millions of dollars in a month. Technically, the guy didn't finish calculating it, but I said more than this. I think he summarized it. So they make 350. So you make 350, which is that you kept let's go. So let's say the day you make 350, which means that you kept 25 and 25% has gone. So that means that what is left is the you made a 350, good. And then 25%. So 25% will be about how much? Let's see. 75% is equal to
25 will be 1 CD.
no. 350 is
I think
it's 75%. So 25%
Oh,
will
okay.
be what?
it's 87 cedis, 50 pesos.
87 cities, 50%. Okay, good. And then times 30,000. There are 70,000 registered. Don't want to be asked. Some of them have both, I think, has the largest. So, but usually they say they have only about 40% of them working. So I'm saying that maybe 70,000 registered cars and about 30,000 are working. So times 30,000 people, 30,000 cars. That is how much. That's in a day.
2,625,000 cedis.
Good. Times, I think I'm sharing, I'm doing a calculation, but I'm not sharing that calculation. Let me just share it. I didn't know you can share calculator. So I'll share my calculator. times 4 weeks in a month.
That's a lot of money.
So this is how much? 1, 2, 3, 1 to 10 million Ghana cedis, 10 million, 500,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Divided by this is I did a report in 2022. At that time, what was the dollar? 2022, what was the dollar?
2022, somewhere we had around 7
to 8 kids.
Yes, somewhere around. Then later on,
7.
it went up.
So let's
divide-
use 7. Yes.
Divide by 7.
7,
That is
yes.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah. Plenty money.
This is before government gave them the tax.
I see.
This is the calculation I did at the distance. So I took a board and I did a calculation. I think the Ghana web person just chose, didn't do all the calculation here, but I did a calculation for people to see that this is just maybe Uber, then Tango, then this, and this is just average. I'm just using average. So if all the 70,000 were working around the Christmas period and remember that some of the 70,000, some of them are doing multiple working. So let's say you work a little bit for Uber, then you switch to Yango. So let's be fair, that's why I was just trying to use 30,000 active workers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So give and take, people are taking between maybe $800,000 to 1.5 without even having an office in Ghana. Okay. Then the gentleman also mentioned whether how the data can be used for planning and adequate use of land. Actually, technically, I have not done that, but what you can see is that if this data was a government can be able to know the traffic zones where the cars park and be able to even zone out that this is where Uber routes should be because of the fact that they tend to create kind of a congestion at certain times of the day. Those of you who have been passing through the Trinity side, you see sometimes they come and park there in the afternoon, they are tired or whatever, they park there plenty just at the Trinity Junction. Then sometimes at some of the car parks on the fuel stations in the evening, you see them all of them parked there, like they are taking their some of them sleeping in their cars, right? Those who went overnight. So they can kind of create a congestion even for human traffic and vehicular traffic in certain places. So the concept was that if you can be able to know their pathways, you can be able to reorganize and demarcate areas in the city for them. That is one thing that could happen. Now, one challenge that we are seeing in the future is the fact that as we move to EV cars, where we are using the small cars that are using electricity, and they can be full by charging them. The government intends to change some of the filling stations into charging stations. It's going to be very, very challenging for us because just in Christmas and in my discussion with the EV market, they said somebody went to China and bought about 100 of those small cars, but EV versions. Because of the fact that the price is very cheap compared to the petrol ones. Very, very cheap. Sometimes some of them are 5,000, 8,000, so 10, maybe some of the very good ones are just about only 12,000. So somebody is buying a car about 7,000, 5,000, brand new EV. You bring it to a place and you give it to the boys to drive so that you can do pay as you go on credit for them. So it's going to be a time that we are going to have more of these cars coming. And I think that one of the things that government should do is to push the infrastructure of this ride sharing ride sharing into other parts of the country. Most of them are concentrated in the capital cities. So even in Kumasi, you don't see them that much, but they are there. And there are some local versions there. Then Takoradi too, which is not very, very active, but they are coming up in the years in 2003, 2002. They're not 2022, 2023. They're not very active. It was most of them. The booming came because of the COVID. COVID was a very good cash cow for these companies, and that's why quite a number of them also rush into the country. So there's opportunity for business or government. There's opportunity. I don't know whether you remember when the MPP were going to go off. Bamiyan launched something. Is it G Ride or I don't know whether how it is working. A ride hailing platform, which was supposed to be a Ghana owned one, run by I think government with GPRT or something like that. I don't know. I'm not very sure how far that went. Yeah. So that's it. I see Honorable Johannes, sir. Please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It was an app with Metro Mass Transit that they are supposed to use to run their transport. You can be at home, book, and then at the terminal along the routes, the bus picked you. It wasn't successful because of the limited number of intra-city buses that Metro Mass introduced into the system, and the fact that the previous experience with the Ayalolo buses, there people got their money locked on a card, so discourage people to participate. But Prof, you raise a very important issue in which foreign companies come, they don't even have office in Ghana. They just introduce an app and they are taking millions of dollars away every month. It is our attitude, as the Ghanaian attitude, the fact that we don't like anything of ours. Quite recently, the previous government helped some taxi drivers to come on with an app similar to that of Uber. And our normal attitude, of which every bottled water is Vortic and every powdered detergent is Omo. Once Uber has come, Yango, that is all what we know. If we introduce a local version of it, of which the money will remain in the country, it will be very difficult for the Ghanaian to participate. So I'm of the view that we need a lot of education should go down to the Ghanaian. I did part of my studies in India, and they are even still using their population to their advantage. There's no way that you manufacture a mobile phone from outside India, bring it to India, the Indians will buy. they always want to use a mobile phone made in India. So Nokia, for instance, partner an India mobile phone company to manufacture Nokia before Indians started patronizing it. Honda, one of the most common vehicles you see in India, it partnered with Tata to make a car, the body made in India by Tata, and then Honda put in the engine, and then Swift, also an Indian company, partner other company before you start using that vehicle. It is time as a country we try to patronize something of our own. Quite recently, the previous government bought a Tigo. And I was even expecting government to give instructions that every government institution, state-owned institutions, should start using Tigo. You go to institutions and they are still using MTN, Celitel, which are foreign-owned. How many Ghanaians, how many of us are using Tigo to say that, oh, it's Ghana? So the millions of dollars MTN is taking out of this country, if you all switch to Tigo, those monies will remain in this country. Tigo will expand, create employment for the unemployed. So as governments and politicians are doing their part, it is also important for us to look at the nationalistic nature of a Ghanaian to patronize our own products and create employment for ourselves, Prof.
Oh, thank you very much. I agree with you. Our cultural biases also affect how we respond to some of these things, and we'll get there. Right now that we are trying to get there, we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. I hope you
Prof,
will too.
Prof, the former vice president launch was Tap and Go. That's the name. Tap and Go.
You are right. Tap and go. Yes, you are right. I know with Metro Mass or some taxi drivers, I can't remember. We politicize it and it couldn't stand. Look at the amount of money Yango, Uber, and the other one, how is the name? How much they are taking out of this country. If we want Ghana to develop, we should try to patronize our own products. And that is the way to go.
Okay, so thank you very much. We come to the end of today's session. Very, very interesting discussion, and I like your way you all spend time sharing your views and your perspectives on it. Hopefully next week we'll move on to something more interesting like this, and then try to do and bring in new perspectives of it. So thank you very, very much, and have a good evening too. I'll get a video to the class for you to have.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Prof.
Okay, man.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for being with us. It's been a very interesting evening and we are grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think Gifty wants to say something.
Gifty.
Yes.
She just enjoyed. Is it gifty? No. Somebody enjoyed the birthday. There was a party. We were not invited. I don't think it's
Hey,
gifty.
no,
Hey.
that's not me.
Yes. There was a party, a birthday splash, and we were not invited.
Maybe it's
That
not
I
means
the
it's
think
class.
Priscilla. It's Priscilla on this platform.
Yeah.
Because it's the
No.
no,
Please,
Chris
please,
is not
lectures
here.
are over. Let's go.